Now, for more on Zimbabwe's economy, let's talk to Lloyd Msipa, corporate lawyer, investment advisor, and commentator on African politics. He joins us live from London. Welcome back to the show.
Thank you.
So as we know, Zimbabwe's Independence Day is April 18th, 39 years since independence, with 30 of those years under former President Robert Mugabe. So what is Zimbabwe's economic vision now under President Mnangagwa?
Well, of course, President Mnangagwa inherited a very bad economy, bad politics, negative relationships with the West. And I suppose that is what he's trying to do to fix that relationship, because with the sanctions in place from America and the European Union, it will be very difficult for him to make inroads in as far as the Zimbabwean economy is concerned. But obviously, there are efforts afoot to fix these relationships. But it's not an easy job. There are a lot of concerns. The citizens themselves are impatient. They want a functional economy. You promised a new dispensation, a new economy, but something is just not happening.
So let's break some of that down. You mentioned the sanctions, and we saw that the U.S. extended them for another year in March.
Yes.
How is Zimbabwe dealing with this, and how is it affecting the economy?
Well, think about the independence celebrations today. They all sounded hollow in the sense that we are celebrating 39 years of independence, but we are not delivering to our own people. So what that means effectively is that there is a leader who is not very popular at the moment, because the exchange rate keeps on going up. Basic commodities are in short supply. Basic medical attention, you can get that from the hospitals. So he is trying his level best, but it's just not happening. We have efforts from the finance minister engaging Washington to see if he can get the sanctions relaxed, or at least chip away at some of the aspects of the sanctions. He's been doing a lot of work in that. It's a slow process, but after Emerson Mnangagwa took over from Mugabe, there was an expectation that things would change rapidly, and that is not happening at the moment.
Now, in some of the efforts the government's making, we saw that last week the finance minister talked about a new currency, expecting to introduce it in about 12 months. And obviously, we recently saw bread prices double in the country as hyperinflation persists. How do you see this new currency helping the situation?
Well, at some point, Zimbabwe will need a currency of its own. As you know, the RTGS is actually a virtual currency that is traded on electronic platforms. At some point, we'll need a currency that goes beyond our borders, that we can exchange with the South African rand, for instance, which is South Africa, one of our biggest trading partners. So this is not something that Zimbabweans are not really afraid of. It is something that they're expecting at some point. The RTGS was a step towards going to the actual currency. It is not possible for Zimbabwe to continue using a virtual currency.
Right.
And sooner or later, that has to happen. And 12 months, I think, is something, it is something that, that should happen as quickly as possible.
Now, we did see that Zimbabwe and the IMF agreed on economic policies and structural reforms. How important is it to re-engage, not just with the West, but also these international financial organizations?
Well, the world is now a global village. Zimbabwe cannot exist in isolation. We need to be engaged with the rest of the world. We need to have money, all financial transactions pass through the United States of America. So Zimbabwe has to join the global network in order to survive. And the efforts by the finance minister are directed at exactly that.
Now, let's also look at the relationship with China. Some experts view China's Belt and Road Initiative as really being the cornerstone of the China-Zimbabwe relationship. How do you see that developing?
Well, China is what we call our fair weather. Well, China's been our friend since the days of the liberation struggle. And the new relationship where China is now playing an economic role in our affairs is received with mixed feelings in Zimbabwe, probably in Africa in general, in the sense that they are coming in as capitalists and with little benefit to Zimbabwe. But considering that our relations with the West are bad and there's no real financial or economic input from the West, the Chinese is the best that we can do at the moment. And hence the relationship with them.
All right, thank you so much for your insights. Lloyd Msipa there, corporate lawyer, investment advisor, and commentator on African politics.
Thank you.